Hi there, fans of Stalking the Wild Auto Harp. Welcome to this week's special interview edition with Allison Guinn. I have wanted to do this interview for years and finally got the chance to. Allison is in the cast of Hulu's Only Murders in the Building with Steve Martin and Martin Short. She was in the cast of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and two of my favorite series ever. I think I first became aware of Allison when she did the commercial for Daigle Auto Harps, which you can still see on the Auto Harps website. It's just right on the homepage, autoharp.com. Scroll down, you'll see Allison's commercial for Daigle Auto Harps archived right there on the Daigle website. In this interview, we are talking about her new podcast called Some Dark Holler. She and her musical partner have been discussing murder ballads, which is sort of also the context of Only Murders in the Building. It's about a podcast that's being put together about crimes in the building. This real life podcast is about murder ballads, which are the songs of old that told the stories of famous infamy, murder, and intrigue. And on that note, I will take you to Allison. Allison Guinn, welcome to Stalking the Wild Auto Harp.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm really excited.
I'm so glad to finally have you on. I've been watching for, I think the first time I got savvy to you was when you did the commercial for Daigle Auto Harps.
Yes, yes.
So you want to do the song?
Yes, if that's okay. That
That's
way.
absolutely okay. What are you going to do for us?
So this is a song I wrote that was inspired by a lot of the Alice Gerard and Hazel Dickens like protest songs
Uh-huh.
about the coal strike, but this is about women's rights.
Okay.
So this is something that should be hollered, as I like to say. So I will sit back a little bit.
Okay.
But this is called "Get Out of There."
Okay.
It's time to speak truth now. My body's my own, and I know for so long that you've made it your home. And you think you can tell me the how and the where, but it's high time I tell you to get out of there. 'Cause a woman's got the right to kick you out of her hair. My body is mine, so men, get out of there. Don't care who you worship, below or above. My body's my business, I love how I love. Don't need your opinion, no mean to be coarse. Get your hands off my lady bits or I'll make you by force. 'Cause a woman's got the right to kick you out of her hair. My body is mine, so man, get out of there. If I want 10 children or if I want none, the choice should be mine. It's my oven, my bun. My future should not be prisoner of the state. It's my life, it's my choices, and not yours to make. 'Cause a woman's got the right to kick you out of her hair. My body is mine, so man, get out of there. 'Cause a woman's got the right to kick you out of her hair. My body is mine, so man, get out of there.
Thank you. So, you're a busy woman. You've got like a lot of irons in the fire.
Yes, I'm busier than a one-armed paper hanger. Um,
In your line of work, it's a good problem to have.
well, it is, if you can make any money off of it. But yeah, I am definitely. I try to be a master of all the trades that I'm a jack of, but it's not easy. But yeah, I just got back from the SAG Awards, so that
Mhm.
was humbling and scary and fun.
Tell,
And
tell us what SAG is.
the Screen Actors Guild Awards, they're on Netflix if you want to go back and try to look for me.
Is that the same as the union?
It is. That is
Okay.
the Screen Actors Guild Union, and we striked for better deal
Hmm.
for all of us blue collar actors, as I like to call it,
Blue collar
um,
actors.
and which is what I am. And thankfully, a compromise was reached, and we could go back to work. So that was
Hmm.
great. And it was special that I could go to the awards on a year where that happened,
Hmm.
because it was your union is so significant, especially this year. So yeah, that was great, and a chance to dress up fancy and rub elbows with really fancy people.
It looked like quite the shindig.
It really was, and I felt very much like a bumpkin, but I kept my head high.
So, where was that?
That was at the Shrine Auditorium. Sorry, this is lovely Queens, New York. You're going to hear several mopeds delivering food. This is a new thing since the pandemic, that
Yeah,
we have to put up with when we're home recording.
right.
So, um, anyway, it was at the Shrine Auditorium in Los Angeles,
Okay.
and Hulu, who I was nominated along with the rest of the ensemble for Only Murders in the Building. And I was in this last season. And so that was really exciting. Hulu sent us all over there, and we got to go and sit in the table and see Robert De Niro in the same room as me, and it was great.
So you live in New York
I do, yes.
and you work in California.
I work wherever the work is. So I've worked in LA, I've worked here in New York where they're shooting TV shows. I've done Broadway. Like you said, I've been on a national tour.
Hmm.
I've just finished this last fall a play at Berkeley Repertory, so I was up there for a little bit. Yeah, I go wherever the work goes. So, but
And
I'm based here in New
then
York.
when it all lets up, you don't.
Yeah.
You take up murder podcasting of your in your own right.
I did. So I have a folk group, a folk duo, as I say. Um, One of the other people that was the understudy for Madame Thenardier when I did the national tour of Les Miserables was a folkie, and she plays the fiddle and a ton of other instruments, the dulcimer, the keyboards. She does it all, and her name is Amelia Cormack. And we decided to just start playing music together. We also like oddly love um all the angsty music, like from the mid 90s, because that's when we grew up. So every once in a while we'll do like a folk cover of a Tori Amos song, or you know, the Cranberries or something like that, just to have fun. But over the pandemic, I shared with my love of murder ballads, And Amelia, I explained what they were, and she said, "Oh, I think we have some of that in Australia too," because she's from Australia. And I said, "No way." And so we started over Acapella, that app, during the pandemic, making these little duets of murder ballads over the Halloween season. And that became a part of our repertoire. So when we would play live, we would have like a little murder ballad section. And I think we were both so intrigued by murder ballads because they're just so graphic and so brutal, and they don't really explain why unless you know the full story behind it. It's just kind of senseless brutality for no reason. And I I am awkward and I laugh at situations when I shouldn't, So if something's brutally awkward or brutal for no reason, I think it's odd and funny and I want to know why. So I have to figure out why. It's just my dark sense of humor. And so we decided that we would make a podcast about these murder ballads and find the true crime story behind them. And a lot of times these old songs are very misogynistic. Yeah, they don't often favor the female, and a lot of time women are the victims, and they don't explain why. And so we dive in, we find out why, we find out what the real story is, because also behind these stories, they tweak the song to make it go. They tweak the story and the plot to make it more the girl deserved it or something like that. The victim did something terrible to deserve it, when in reality they didn't. And so we tell the story behind that after we sing the original murder ballad. And then we write our own song that kind of sticks up for the victim or twists history around and makes it to where they are the victor and the justice is theirs. And just a fun little way of retelling the story. So it's a fun project.
Great idea.
We made a podcast and it's called Some Dark Holler, Holler. So as in hollering. And we take each episode covers one specific murder ballad, and we sing the original traditional murder ballad, and then we tell the true crime story behind it. And often the real story is really different from how the song goes. It's a fun little project that we've got about 6 in the can, and we hopefully will want to keep going with it. And I am just learning the technical aspects of home recording.
So one thing I wanted to ask is, when you are doing that, are you on opposite sides of the world?
Actually, she came here to this little apartment in Queens, and we recorded right here on this couch.
Okay.
So she just recently had a baby. So congratulations to her. But we're probably going to have to figure out how to do some remote recording like that too, maybe. So it'll be interesting to see how fast I can pick it up.
Indeed. And Australia, I mean,
well, she's in New York right now. So
she's in New York. Okay. See,
that's
this
good.
is the thing, is you guys get around. You're not
yes.
So when you were on the road in Les Mis, were you traveling with your auto harp?
Yes.
This is an auto harp, I almost said podcast, an auto harp channel, by the way.
You worked on this one. So
yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes. And it was an interesting struggle. Sometimes the sound department, if there was room, would let me travel it with their sound equipment, and that was lovely. But sometimes there wasn't room, I don't know why, in their cargo, so I had to carry it on. And sometimes there wasn't room to carry it on. And that's when I had to say, well, I'm not going. You're not checking this auto harp, because I think I did let them early on in the tour, and it did crack a little bit. There was a little crack, and I was like, oh nope, we're not doing that ever again. So it's a struggle. It's an interesting. That's why most people I know of, they go by car when they're traveling to music festivals,
Hmm.
or yeah, they just go by car, and I get that, but yeah.
Okay, so you're in the habit of traveling with your auto harp. What? Okay, tell me your come to auto harp story. Why auto harp for you?
Um, my granny, her name is Daisy Dean Cheryl Irwin. She would sing us all these old Carter family songs. And her favorite songs were the songs that were like, "You'll be sorry when I'm dead" kind of songs, like "Bury Me Under the Weeping Willow," or
Hmm.
"I'm Thinking Tonight of My Blue Eyes," or things like that. So I wanted to accompany myself by singing these songs. And I'd moved to New York right after college, and there was a lot of ukulele playing at that time. And I didn't want to play the ukulele. And I've tried to play the guitar, but my hands are really tiny. And so I just automatically thought, well, let's just do what Sarah did and pick up the auto harp. And so I found one on eBay. And then I found that Sebastian Bach. Is that his name? Sebastian, the
John
Lovin'
Sebastian.
Spoonful guy? John
John
Sebastian.
Sebastian. Yeah.
Sebastian Bach is the guy from Poison. No, John Sebastian. I found his little DVD about how to play the auto harp, and I learned how to tune it, and I just started playing. I think the first song I played live was I was in the Broadway cast of Hair, and I think the first song we sang and I played was Fair and Tender Ladies with two other gals from the cast. And I played the auto harp live with that, and we sang in 3-part harmony. And I was like, this is special. This is really great. And I get jitters really easy. I have anxiety, so I like an instrument I can hug. that's
It's like a
that's
shield.
Yes, it's
You
like
can like,
I'm safe.
yeah,
Yeah, so there's a special connection with an auto harp. Connects me to my favorite person in the world, which is my granny, and
hmm,
where I'm from. So I like it very much. That's how it
very
became
cool.
my instrument of choice.
Very
Yes.
cool. All right. So, do you ever like break it out during breaks between takes, like when
Not
you shoot?
yet. But we'll see if they invite me back for Only Murders again. I'll see if Steve wants to jam if he has his banjo.
Does he pull out his banjo?
No. No, there's a running gag that Marty and Selena find it very annoying when he plays his banjo. So I
Yeah, it's
imagine,
one of those. It's one of those hell instruments. I
you know,
like I like banjo. I like the old time banjo,
I love
especially.
it. I love it too. I mean, I prefer it. I thought I would get on Mrs. Maisel, that show. I was like, this is my ticket in. The auto harp is my ticket in. And then, because she works at the Gaslight, and, they have that open mic past the basket night and the Gaslight.
There's two auto harp scenes in that
I
show.
know. And I let my manager have it, that I did not know about it. But I thought I was like, that's how I'm going to get in. And then Susie, played by Alex, said something like, "I told you, no auto harps." And it just broke my heart a little bit. Oh, and I was like, but why? It's so
Yeah,
beautiful.
it always seems to like stand for lameness.
Which is
And
horrible.
it is, and it needs, I mean, I've always said that's why we need real badass players, to put people
Yeah.
in their place and show them a thing or two about the auto harp.
It's a
Um,
blessing and a curse how easy you can play an auto harp. Because it's the best thing about it is you can pick it up and play something. Hopefully, if you have any kind of rhythm and sense of pitch like in maybe an hour, you can figure out
yep.
row your boat or something like
Hmm.
that. But the bad part is that a lot of people think that means they are ready for live performance with such auto harp, and
Hmm.
it takes practice. Live performance, especially getting over yield nerves.
Hmm.
So it's a double-edged sword, the ease of an auto harp.
People notice the auto harp.
Oh yeah.
There's like wide-eyed, like, what is, either they don't know what it is and they want to know,
Uh-huh.
or they call it a harpsichord.
Yes.
um, and they're sure that it's a harpsichord. Look, it's a harpsichord. And
Or a dulcimer. I get a
right,
dulcimer a lot too.
right, and but they notice. And what I wish would happen is that more music groups would realize that the auto harp is like, boom, attention, memorable.
Oh yeah.
And if people would put that in, um, there would be more people, like, you'd see more of them.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
remember and remember the band that had one. Oh, you guys are the ones that had that auto.
Yeah. Um, I was always fascinated with a guitaro. And I was like, I want to, because, it just looks cool. And there's that clip of Sarah and Maybell singing Sweet Fern.
Hmm.
And
Out
I
under the
think
tree.
Sarah has it.
Yeah,
And I was like, what is that? That's so cool.
yeah,
There's something to be said about just how cool it looks.
yeah. They don't sound very good though.
No.
Have to admit, we get them through the shop, and people are fascinated with them. Got to get one, and they don't make them anymore.
Maybe in a punk band.
So yeah, okay. Put a pickup on it, and the tell us where the podcast can be um heard.
You can hopefully on most platforms, but the most popular are Spotify and Apple, um, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, iHeartRadio, all those platforms.
I
Um,
picked mine up on Audible.
oh, Audible, yeah, yeah, yeah. What's great about also Spotify is I've created companion playlists. So, like, if you aren't familiar with all the different versions of the songs by the different artists that we aren't allowed to play during the podcast episode because of copyright, they
Right.
can go to the playlist I've made and hear and listen along if they want to, like, pause and listen and see what we're talking about. And so that was pretty valuable.
It's
Um,
so funny because the songs are in public domain
Yeah,
because
the
they're folk
actual
songs.
song, but you
But
can't
the
play like Johnny Cash singing Frankie and Johnny because, yeah,
right,
so weird.
right. So just for the sake of recognition, rattle off some of the names of some of the murder ballads that we're talking about here, because people will go, murder ballads. What's that?
Murder ballads. So we're going to do so far we have Frankie and Johnny, which is our big one we started off with. There's a bush ballad that Amelia covered called The Wild Colonial Boy. And I think that's right up there with Waltzing Matilda and its popularity in Australia. We do Oh Me Wise, Poor Oh Me Wise, uh, Poor Ellen Smith, you know. Let's see. Oh, we do sadly the Lawson family murders. That one's a really sad one. Yeah, we and hopefully in the future we will do more. I want to do Tom Dooley, of course, and
Mhm.
another Frankie. I want to do Frankie Silver, and
Have
yeah,
you heard? Okay, this is an aside. I don't think we'll
yes,
we'll go into this. Have you heard Caleb Meyer?
yes. We cover Caleb Meyer. We do
Okay,
in
that
our
one
live
is
performances.
gives me the shivers. It's
If you go
so.
on YouTube, you can hear our version of Caleb Meyer.
Oh, really?
Yes, if you search for Cormac and Guinn, you'll find all of our live
Okay,
performances.
all
Yeah,
right.
Caleb Meyer's one of them.
Yeah.
We've done things like Wind in the Rain,
Mhm.
um, Little Margaret, um, all of the greats. The one that I don't think we're going to be able to cover, but that got me started. Maybe we will if we get enough funding to pay for the rights. Is I've always wanted to do Knoxville Girl because that's the one my granny started me off with because she knew that one by heart, and
Okay.
she would sing that one and to scare us.
Now, what do you mean the rights? Knoxville Girl, is that not a traditional
That's
one?
a Louvin Brothers song, and that was made
Oh,
after.
okay.
Yeah, so that was made after. I think it was in the 50s. It was
Yeah, I was
made.
going to
So
say 50s.
yeah. So but the oldie ones like Knoxville Girl came from Oxford Girl, you
Okay.
know. So when there's
Yeah,
nothing.
the child ballads
Yes,
go way
as
back.
as
Yeah.
John Lennon says, there's nothing you can sing that can't be sung, or nothing that you can do that hasn't been done.
Yeah.
It's all been done. Yeah. So hopefully, and I love all the fictional ones as well. The Henry Lees and the Little Mattie Groves and all those. Maybe we'll cover those in the Cruel Mother one. Woo, that
Hmm.
one's scary too.
Yeah.
Um I just love all the spooky ones.
See, the ballads that I've always had a fascination with are the supernatural ones, where there's ghosts or devils or
Long Black Veil and
yeah.
things like that. Yeah.
Um, but these aren't necessarily murder ballads.
Mm-mm.
They're just traditional creepy ballads.
We might cover the creepy ones if we get.
This is, it's interesting, the whole topic of why the creepiness
Yeah.
and why the but when you think about, okay, I was watching, are you a Muppets fan?
Yes. Of
Okay,
course.
ballads, Muppets.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've been watching our way through the Muppet Show, binge watching the Muppet Show,
Yeah.
and then we watched a um, documentary, probably from the 90s, that was called The World of Jim Henson, that talked about how they put that show together and
Hmm.
all the stars and everything. And where was I going with this?
Doesn't matter. I love
um,
talking Jim Henson.
um, God, that's embarrassing.
No, 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 no.
I just had a total brain fart. It was connected to,
The
I don't know,
why, the spookiness.
the spookiness. Oh, he was talking about puppet violence.
Yes.
And he was talking about, well, there's quite a bit of violence, like Crazy Harry running around and blowing things up on the show.
Yes.
Um, he was talking about puppet violence, and there's, of course, Punch and Judy, because is like some of the original cartoon violence,
Yes.
and the cartoons picked it up, and fairy tales picked it up, and it's a favorite folkism
Yeah.
to celebrate the macabre
Very true. That's
in
great.
these things. And I have this theory that it is a psychological way of dealing with the shadow,
That makes
like
sense.
on a community basis. Like if we sing about it, if we tell stories about it, um, then it won't happen.
Yes.
You know, and these days we believe, well, you know, if you let kids watch all this violence, then they'll start acting it out. But I have no proof of this, but if it's storytelling, you know, back in the day when the only entertainment that people had was their folk songs and their stories,
Mm-hmm.
you know, by telling it, you discharge it, perhaps.
You take away its power.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's also something that about creating these spooky things to keep kids from from going out into the woods at night or talking to strangers, uh or eating strangers candy. Like there's a Hansel and Gretel, don't take candy from strangers, don't
Cautionary
trust
tales.
the wolf,
Yeah.
Little Red Riding Hood kind of thing. And a lot of these, especially like the cryptids, get created because mothers are kind of trying to keep their kids uh, from running around and getting in trouble. And there's something to be said about these murder ballads. Some of them are used, ladies behave yourselves, and be a good girl or you'll end up dead. There's a lot of these used as a cautionary tale. Don't do this. Don't be like this. That's interesting that we create the monsters too in
Mm-hmm.
order to keep people safe. And so that's fascinating to me as well.
So what was Billy Joe throwing off that bridge?
The Tallahatchie Bridge. I love that.
Awesome song.
Yes, she's great. What's that one that is that the one that was she the one that sang it was like a round, and it was like mama can mama can mama can can you? It was like called a
I don't know
family
that one.
reunion or something. I think it was Billie Jean, but anyway. Um
Bobby
I-
Gentry.
Bobby Gentry, yes. I go off on a tangent and then you can't get me back. So yeah, and you'll find murder ballads everywhere. They keep doing them. They will keep doing them. Um, Pearl Jam's Jeremy is a murder ballad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what else? It's all over. I was in the airport and I heard Uncle Tom's Cabin by some heavy metal group in the 90s,
Mm.
and they were singing something about don't throw the bodies in the wishing well, and I was like, there's a murder ballad.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. The Dave Matthews, There's Blood in the Water.
Yes, yes,
Um,
yes,
Hey Joe, just a murder
yes,
ballad for
yes.
sure.
So wow, Maxwell's Silver Hammer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
And talk about upbeat.
yes. Do-do-do-do-do.
Yep. Yep.
It's fascinating. It's fascinating. It's an important, I think, part of communication that still goes on. The catchiness
Well,
of a song in
and the
order to tell a
popularity
story.
of slasher movies and
Yeah.
um, uh, ghost stories and scary movies, monster movies. I mean,
Yes.
who doesn't
Yes.
love a good monster movie?
Right.
Um,
My partner gets mad at me every time because I'm like, I need to see the monster. You have to show me the monster in the movie or I'll be upset. I'm like, I have to see it. You have to show me it at least once in the movie. Because that's where the thrill is. But anyway, so I'm fascinated by all the things that are on the darker side, and why am I fascinated by it? And it's just becomes a snake eating its tail.
mhm.
But yeah, it's part of our history. I think it's important. It's also a part of it's important to look at in terms of social structure and a woman, especially how women navigated the world and how they were treated and thought of. And it's an interesting topic, and I think it's something that has staying power and will always keep giving. So
well, and I'll put this out there is that, okay, so I have listened to the first episode, the Frankie and Johnny episode.
Thank you.
And if people will tune in and listen to that with an ear for what actually happened to Frankie through the decades of her life after that event, which was self-defense.
Yeah.
And how it grew all out of proportion and how she got vilified and where she ended up and everything. And it's you talk about a horror story.
Yeah. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy a little bit.
And the whole thing about fake news and folk songs were our social media.
Yes. It was clickbait and
it was rumor mill and totally out of control. And nobody cared about the original story. Nobody cared about the truth or justice. They just cared about, what
was interesting?
Is it a good, interesting, fun story to tell between this song and this song?
Yes.
And
the message of a jealous woman, that goes far and wide and is easy to understand. And what really happened is, justified and understandable. It's not as salacious as a woman done wrong.
Right.
She'll have a revenge.
Victim of stereotypes.
Yep.
So people, listen to the podcast.
Some Dark Holler. Available where you listen to podcasts. Plug.
That's true. That's true. Okay. Yeah. So I actually do that song, Some Dark Holler.
I love the song. That's why it became our theme song, because just that one little stanza.
Well, and we know very different versions. We know very different versions. I learned mine off. I'm an old Deadhead, so I learned mine off of Bobby Weir. And
mine was my granny used to sing it, and then I think the first recorded version was probably Joan Baez or Doc Watson or something like that. But I just love that. I would rather be in Some Dark Holler. That's what do they call it in the folk? They call it the just that stanza, in some dark holler where the sun refused to shine.
Right, those little phrases that show up in all the songs.
It shows up over and over and over again, and that's interesting to me. So that stanza of him, he'd rather be in a dark holler where the sun wouldn't shine than for someone else to have ownership of this woman, than for you to be another man's woman. It's very like in the vein of a abusive, murderous relationship to me. And so Some Dark Holler is also where our family told us never to go as kids.
Into a dark holler.
Don't go to the woods at night, don't be by yourself. Yeah. Beware the darkness.
Yeah. My parents were both from West Virginia.
Oh, nice.
And so I consider this the Appalachian music to be my roots, even though I've never lived there myself.
Yeah, they were both from there. You.
And that mining stuff, the Hazel Dickens story, she was fascinating.
She's wonderful. What a voice. Her voice is just so unique and captivating. Her and Alice, both of them, are just pioneering women of folk and bluegrass. To think that they were doing it when not a lot of women were doing it, and gaining respect and That's valid. And something that I admire. Uh, yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, Allison, when you are doing these ballads, are you kind of taking turns at doing the research?
Yes, she'll do an episode, then I'll do an episode. And that way we'll tell the story to each other, and to whoever didn't write it, it's fresh to them. So they can give their perspective. And it's almost like you're listening with somebody that is hearing it for the first time as well. So I think that's I think we got that from the Dollop, actually. The Dollop podcast. They'll tell a story to someone will tell a story to their partner, and it's completely, they haven't heard it before, and so they're getting a fresh take on it, like the listener. So we thought that was a good.
It's like a built-in reaction video.
Yeah, yeah. It's good. It's always good to have fresh perspective.
Is the plan kind of that you do this in your downtime?
The plan is that I think the plan is that we continue to always do it, and just because it's something we love, and hopefully it will pick up in popularity to the point where it will give us some, so we'll get sponsorship or something like that, and
Get
so
some
we
gigs.
can make it one of our main means of income while we wait for our ships to come in. No.
Yeah, sure.
Hopefully we will be able to add sponsorships in it, or get into a podcast network. That's what we envision for it.
What is a podcast network?
A podcast network is something like Wondery, or Audible has a podcast network by now. Such comedy, true crime podcasts like Morbid, they have a podcast network where they take other podcasts under their wing and give them, I don't know if it's financial backing or the technical know-how that they need, or the equipment that they need, or even just getting the word out. If you're under a podcast network umbrella, it's always better in order to get more listeners. And I know I'm just learning this whole record from home process. So any help that I could get, I will gladly take. So we're doing it all ourselves at this point, in hopes of trying to find someone that can give us some help and get us more listeners, and get us to be better quality as well, in terms of.
So hear that, folks? You need to check in and listen. You need to represent.
Yeah, give us some help. And also, if you have any advice, we'll take it. It's Cormack, CORMACK ANDGUINN @gmail.com, Cormack and Guinn @gmail.com. Or you can find us on Instagram under @Cormack and Guinn, and let us know your thoughts. We're always wanting to be better and trying to be better, so we can get more ears on us and we can continue to do it.
Well, I am looking forward to more episodes.
Oh, thank you so much.
I want to thank you for coming on my episodes.
I'm very honored to be on
here.
You. So thank you for interviewing me.
So there you have it, folks. That's Allison Guinn. So glad that I finally got to talk to her and meet her for real in person. And she's actually going to be at MLAG, Mountain Laurel Auto Harp Gathering, this summer, this being 2024. Wow. So thanks for watching. If you are interested in this program and you want to become a part of it, you can become a patron of Patreon for my channel over at patreon.com/HalWeeks. Thank you, Allison Guinn, for participating and coming here and sharing your wonderful, cheerful personality and your intrigue with murder. I encourage everybody to go listen to the podcast. It is fascinating, the stories that they have to tell about these old songs. So, thanks for watching. I'm Hal Weeks. We'll see you next time on Stalking the Wild Auto Harp. Bye-bye.